So I think that entrepreneurship is ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I remember when I was a young student and entrepreneur, how I looked up to those heroes. And I could remember for months or years that I had met somebody like the CEO of Akamai or the VP of sales at some company. It was just amazing back in little Finland where I was that I had even bumped into such a person. And now I'm realizing that we are all just regular, normal people. Everybody has lots and lots of weaknesses. And becoming a successful entrepreneur isn't at the end of the day about your skills or your abilities or your DNA. It's about what you refuse to give up on. What you will keep doing until you succeed. A little bit like once somebody asked Linus Torvalds about open source and said, so Linus, when should I become an open source developer? How should I think about it? And he said, you should become an open source developer if there's nothing else in the whole world you can think of doing. And it's a little bit the same with being an entrepreneur, that you shouldn't do it if you don't feel like it. I see so many who try but don't have that mindset to never give up. And then they give up and it wasn't a good experience. But at the same time, you can learn to become an entrepreneur. When I started, I did it just because it was fun. I did it because my friends were doing it. I was a student at Helsinki University of Technology, not Helsinki University. That's like mixing Berkeley and Stanford. Sorry. So Helsinki University of Technology, nowadays known as Aalto University. And I walked into a room where I had two of my friends were sitting and they were doing something. I said, hey guys, what are you up to? You look like you're starting a company or something. Well, that was exactly true. And so I became the third co-founder of the company. And I did it only for the excitement and because I never really planned my career. I never thought about becoming some distinguished businessman or something. I just did things that were fun and with people that I enjoyed working with. And that's why it has taken such a long time for me to accomplish something. John was very nice to me when he said I'm a serially successful entrepreneur, but I'm also serially unsuccessful. When he mentioned Match on Sports, it was one of the biggest .com companies in Finland, and it went straight into the wall and went bankrupt, which in Scandinavia is not a good thing because their bankruptcy doesn't correlate well with your career possibilities. And there was a difference in 2003 when I came to the Bay Area and they said, wow, you've gone through a bankruptcy. That's good. You know how much it hurts. And that's what I think is very important here, that you can grow into this, you learn it, and you don't know when you are a kid who you really are and what your strengths are. And if you would see me when I was 12, I'm not sure you would bet on me as a future CEO of MySQL, the world's most widely used open source database that got sold for $1 billion. I don't think I looked like that when I was 12 or 14 or something. I never really did any sports, so you wouldn't have noticed that I had a desire to win. And when I was a young kid, I was very stubborn. And I thought it was my problem because my siblings told me it was my problem and my parents told me it was my problem. But now in business I realize that's my strength. Like Albert Einstein said, it's not that I'm smarter, it's that I stay with the problems longer. So what was a hindrance for me when I was a kid actually turned out to be a strength. And you may think that I'm a talkative, fun, happy guy, extroverted and so on. But when I was younger, I wasn't that outgoing. Many times when I was somewhere, I was the little kid because I was with my older brother, with my older sister somewhere. And when you're a kid and you are with your older sibling, you're sort of hiding in the background. And you feel a little bit detached and on the outside. But what you learn is, you learn to listen and you learn to observe. So I remember at the Boy Scout camp, we were sitting in this sailing boat in the middle of the night. Everybody was smoking tobacco back then. It was only tobacco, but there was a boat full of smoke. And I was sitting there. I was probably 14-year-old, listening to the old guys talking. And I think these are the experiences that then allowed me to listen to others and to try to understand others. And that you must do in order to sell. If you're selling something, selling an idea, you are recruiting somebody, you are convincing somebody, you're doing marketing, you're doing PR, whatever you do, it's not about what you say, it is about how you listen and understand what they are looking for to hear or what they are hoping to hear, and you learn to deal with the world. And you all have experiences of that sort where you walk around thinking that you are limited or you lack something or you have some defect. And 5 years from now, that may be your strength. And I think you can take any weakness and turn it into a strength. You can decide. Like, I'm a slow learner. I'm pretty sharp, but it takes time for me to learn things. But then I learn them very thoroughly. But I know other people are much faster. And it has guided me in my life. I need to be in business and places where it's okay to learn slowly, but learn deeply. And others need to learn very quickly. I could never be a trader because I can't make decisions that fast. I learn slowly and I make decisions slowly. I make decisions as late as I can. And many people say it's bad for business when you are like that. Maybe it is, but I'm here, I'm successful. Well, I've been successful. Let's see where this world is going and what's happening. But everybody is different, and Peter Drucker, who was absolutely the smartest guy ever on the matters of business and management and leadership, he said, the purpose of management is to make individual weaknesses irrelevant. That's very, very important, because we all have weaknesses, and we must build teams where these weaknesses become irrelevant. You must hire people who are different than you, who have the strengths that you lack. And you must have the courage to admit to them that you have that weakness, because they don't mind, and they see it anyhow. So if you deny it, you won't get anywhere. But if you admit it, you will have others helping you, and they don't mind helping you because they need help where they are weak. Because there are no perfect human beings anywhere on the planet. Although we sometimes think so. We look up at these iconic business leaders, and we think they just get everything right. But they don't. They make mistakes all the time, and they have character flaws, and they have flaws in their abilities, and there are things where they lack the attention span, or they don't go deep enough, or whatever. There's always something with everybody. And so you shouldn't frame yourself too much into what you think you are. It's such a common misperception. And the younger they are, the more I hear it. You say, well, I'm like this, or I've never been able to do that. That is nonsense. You have a very plastic brain. Your cells will learn new tricks if you just stick to your problems long enough. You can learn anything you like. Spend 10,000 hours doing something and you will be an expert. Spend less than 10,000 hours and you won't be an expert. Some unique people learn things quickly, but they are few and far between. Most of us have to just work hard to get there. I used to be very naive. I'm still very naive, but I used to be even more naive when I was young. So I made all these mistakes. I signed up with people who didn't really live up to the rules I thought we had, the rules of engagement, because I was so naive. I couldn't protect myself against the bad outcome. But at the same time, because I'm so naive, I can think about big visions and big things happening in the future because I'm not limited by too much critical thinking. So it can be turned into a strength if you acknowledge it with yourself. And then I know that I need to develop my own strengths. So I used to be a really crappy negotiator. You know, if somebody asked for a specific price, I would just pay it. I would forget that I could ask for a discount. And if I negotiated something, I just wanted to get the deal done quickly. So whatever they said, I would say, okay, yes, yes, yes. And that's so stupid. But I learned over time, when I realized that a hindrance to my success would be, is this my inability to negotiate? So I said, okay, I'll learn to negotiate. And I did. And now I love doing it. It's wonderful. It's something of the most interesting you can do in the world. Because when you negotiate, you have to deal with another human being who's also trying to get the best. And you can close a deal only if you find some benefit for both, that they think they got more benefit than they asked for. So you must find this universe where you think you won and they think they won. Otherwise you won't have a deal. And I'm very proud, I'll talk about eucalyptus, but we just signed a partnership with Amazon Web Services. Nobody else has a partnership like that. We worked on it for a long, long time, and now we have it. We're not the biggest company, we are not the most famous company, but we had everything right, and we made sure that we had for them something really valuable, and that they had for us something really valuable. So even if there was a lot of give and take, we ended up signing a deal. And it can have huge positive impact on the business. And now I love doing it. But I didn't love doing it when I was your age. If you would have asked me then to describe myself when I'm 49, I wouldn't have described a person like this. So that's why I think it's just very important to be mindful of who you are and what you think are your strengths, and not feel that you're limited in any way. Of course you're limited. I mean, we are human beings after all, so we have lots of limitations. But the limitations are much farther out than you would ever believe. And if you just stick to the problems, you can do anything.